interest of full transparency, I have a confession to make. I've wanted to do a series of this sort on this channel pretty much since its inception, but I wasn't quite sure how to broach the subject without it coming across like I'm some sort of New Age cultist, or without inadvertently cultivating that sort of audience. Though I'm mainly leaning on my back catalog for proof, caution still compels me to preface this series with the unambiguous declaration that I am now and have always been a skeptical atheist, meaning I don't actually believe in literal gods or spirits or mystic energy or whatever else have you. I simply view these things as useful illustrative devices, a kind of metaphysical shorthand, if you like, and it is in this capacity alone that I employ them. Now, with that being said, if you've watched my 3 Laws of Divinity video, you'll recall my story about my having been so far abstracted during my early adulthood that I could have legally registered as an isekai protagonist. Behold the mature fruits of that chronic dream quest. What you're about to hear in this video, and all like it that follow, is essentially just a collection of abridged excerpts from my books Misloff's moderated magic guide, The Noble Ape, and A. Wolf's account of arcane philosophy, in no particular order. In essence, this is going to be a heavily abridged retelling of my own personal metaphysical journey, and should therefore be taken with exactly as much salt as that is worth. I can't and won't claim to be anything more than a bumbling amateur at best, on account of my understanding coming almost entirely out of my own intuition and reason, with a smattering of ancient lore rounding off some of the odd corners. And so I would much rather point you towards several other, in my opinion, far more credentialed and reputable houses of such knowledge like Religion for Breakfast, Esoterica, Norse Magic and Beliefs, and Max Derrett, among many others. Now, on that note, please indulge me while I show you the path of my own personally constructed thesis on arcane metaphysics. In my own experience, one of the first things any prospective adept is bound to learn upon starting a literary journey into the occult is that, apart from being nearly as convoluted as the cosmos itself, it has around 104 first rules. This is because magic, as a concept, has existed and thrived in some form or another in every culture since the beginning of human history, predating the adoption of the written word, and possibly even the spoken word as we in the modern era know it. And as many of these far-flung peoples would have been separated by thousands of miles and or scores of centuries, nearly each and all came upon their own methods for practically incorporating metaphysical doctrine into daily practice. As far as I'm concerned, all one actually needs to understand to gain a functional foothold in the magisphere is that it is called the magical arts, as opposed to the magical sciences, for a very good reason. That being that inciting or invoking its power is more like singing a song or painting a landscape than mixing a chemical formula. In the science lab, the correct way is what has always been and always will be. In magic, the correct way is the way that gets the preferred results, and the best way is the way that most consistently gets the desired result. And thus we arrive, via our own will and subjective desire, back around at the core concept of empirical truth, the secular equivalent to a creator god's divine principle. And here is where we meet the first cornerstone of modern arcane lore, the division of rank and purpose between common magic, of the sort seen on stage and in modern fantasy, and what I've chosen to call principle magic. In the most basic way, common magic is the art of changing mundane reality in accordance with the wielder's intent, essentially supposing your own force of will for the laws of natural motion. And in that sense, colloquial magic is a phenomenological absurdity. Principle magic, on the other hand, is the much subtler and more complex art form of internal refinement and transmutation by way of the standard process of self-putrefaction, intense distillation, and subsequent purification. An arduous and often excruciating procedure most commonly known as a pyrovaptisma, or a baptism of fire, preceded by an even longer and harder process of reassembling the self so as to unify the rebellious ego and the divine spirit, harmonizing one's own inner being with the external topography of reality. You see what I meant before about sounding a few hens shy of a coop? In far simplified essence, common magics are as flashy as they are hollow, while principle magics are the reverse. It should go without saying that the former is the far more widely known and practiced, and hence my making this series to hopefully provide an elementary springboard for those aspiring towards a deeper study of the true mysteries. And so, for those who've managed to stay with me thus far, thank you. and I think it is appropriate to wind down this entry by going over what, in my eyes, are the 4 quintessential laws of principal magic. Law 1. The law of sameness. Similar things behave similarly. In every realm there are wheels that turn, springs that bend, heat that rises, and so on and so forth. Such has been the case since the first star was born, and such will be so until the last celestial light burns out. Law 2. The law of equivalence. As above, so below. What's true over here is true over there. What was true before will be true later, etc., and so on. There exists a structural limit on how much energy can exist in a given system. As the universe is, insofar as it is in our power to know, a closed system, it stands to reason that the same principles should apply. Therefore, in the interest of the conservation of totality, equal and opposite forces are at work everywhere, including in the abstract field. And any abstract field that is not perfectly symmetrical within itself we call illogical. Law 3. The law of temperance. The flame twice as bright burns half as long. Magic is not a separate force. That is, it is not separate from the ordinary fundamental forces of nature. It is an adjunctive to all. It permeates the world so as to render its arbitrary patterns parsable and thus knowable and understandable to us. Law 4. The law of animus. Once given shall take. Once fed shall consume. Once born shall grow. Magic is not a one-way street. Sorcerous ideas manifest as material phenomena, but they don't spontaneously vanish once their original purpose is served. An idea is born of life, and as what is true of the Father will be of the Son, so shall the thought inherit the breath and ambition of its sire. More it will grow and multiply.
Yeah, that's right.
Thus, a sorcerer must take care while forging his tools not to accidentally infuse them with empty hopes, and so make of them future demons. Alright, I think that's a good enough spot to end our journey for now. Hopefully you found this, if not so much informative, at the very least thought-provoking. If you want to check out my books, the requisite links will be below. And if you've any thoughts or views of your own on this or any other related subjects, please do leave them down below. I'm very curious to see just how high I rank on the insane-o-meter.